Let me introduce you to four people. David is 69. He spent decades working long hours, bought a nice family home in the suburbs in the late 1980s, raised children there, and from the outside looked like a man who had life sorted, and for many years he really did. Lisa is 51. 2 children, steady management job, reliable income, drove a good car, took a holiday every summer. If you only saw snapshots of her life, you'd assume she was thriving. Then there's Ethan, 37. He worked hard, chipped away at student debt for years, watched friends buy homes he couldn't afford, and spent money on dinners, city breaks, and weekends away because, honestly, what exactly was he meant to save for? And finally, Mia, 23. She has a side hustle, posts productivity tips online, owns trendy gadgets, and started investing before most people in her family even knew what an index fund was. She may be the most money-aware 23-year-old her family has ever seen. 4 people, 4 age groups, 4 completely different financial environments, yet every one of them walked into the exact same trap. Not a similar trap, not kind of the same. The very same trap, just dressed differently for each generation. And by the end of this video, you'll probably recognize which version you're living in right now. Here's what that trap really is. And before I say it clearly, this isn't about being careless with money. Most people who fall into it are actually cautious. They budget, they plan, they think before spending. That's what makes it dangerous. At some point, the world around them quietly decided what success was supposed to look like: a certain house, a certain lifestyle, a certain image, a certain kind of freedom. No one sat them down and explained it, they simply absorbed it. We all do. From family, from friends, from culture, from what gets admired, from what gets praised. And when they finally reached the point where they could afford that version of success, they stepped into it. It felt natural. It felt earned. It felt like progress. This isn't greed. It isn't stupidity. It's just people following the unwritten rules of their time. Rules nobody questioned because everybody else was following them too. And the hardest part? From the inside, it never feels like a mistake. It feels responsible. It feels normal. It feels like the next logical step. So let's walk through each generation, because once you notice the pattern in someone else, you start seeing it in yourself. David grew up watching his parents rent forever. Home ownership represented security, stability, respectability. It was the dream. So when he landed a decent job and a bank offered him the largest mortgage he qualified for, he took it. Of course he did. That's what success looked like back then. And to be fair, in the 1980s, it often worked. Inflation was high, property values climbed, houses appreciated strongly. David's home is now worth nearly 5 times what he paid for it. On paper, he looks wealthy. But here's where the story changes. David is 69, and most of his wealth is trapped inside the house he still lives in. The pension he expected never became what he hoped after company changes decades ago. He has savings, but not enough to make retirement feel easy for the next 20 or 25 years. And selling the home would mean leaving the place where his entire adult life happened. The house itself wasn't the problem. The belief that the house was the entire strategy, that was the problem. He spent years maintaining the symbol of wealth: renovations, upkeep, repairs, appearances. Meanwhile, other parts of his future received less attention than they needed. The image was solid. The structure underneath had weak spots. Now, Lisa's trap was quieter, more subtle, because it didn't happen through one dramatic choice. It happened through dozens of sensible little ones. Generation X entered adulthood during the rise of 2-income households. They believed they would earn more and live better than the generation before them, and many of them did earn more. But something else happened. Every time Lisa's income rose, her lifestyle rose with it. Promotion at 33, better car. Higher salary at 39, larger home. Kids reached private school age, bigger monthly expenses. Work got stressful, add the premium holiday. Each decision was understandable. She could afford it, she deserved it. This is lifestyle inflation, the same old trap in smarter clothing.
The issue wasn't spending money, the issue was that expenses kept pace with income. So despite earning more than her parents ever did, the amount left over to build real security barely improved. At 51, Lisa appears successful, and in many ways she is. She has equity, she owns things, she earns well. But retirement is no longer far away, and the numbers are tighter than they should be after 2 decades of solid income. For Gen X, success became visible comfort, nice things, better experiences, a polished life, and they paid for that image every month through automatic payments.
Now Ethan, and if you're a millennial watching, this matters. Your generation faced real obstacles. The 2008 financial crisis disrupted careers right when many people were meant to be building momentum. Wages stagnated, housing ran ahead, stability became harder to reach. That part is real. But here's the trap many millennials still fell into. When traditional symbols of success feel unreachable, houses, pensions, major assets, you naturally shift toward what is still available. Experiences, travel, dining out, festivals, subscriptions, convenience, memorable moments, and culture encouraged it constantly. You only live once. Spend on memories, not stuff. Enjoy now. It sounded wise. Sometimes it was. Ethan spent his late 20s and early 30s collecting incredible memories, real ones, valuable ones. But at 37, he has little invested, no property, and a quiet anxiety about the future that he temporarily solves by planning the next getaway. The problem wasn't enjoying life. The problem was using experiences as a replacement for asset building, while being told that this was financial enlightenment. For millennials, the symbol of arrival became the interesting life, the photos, the stories, the passport stamps. Different costume, same function. And then there's Mia. Mia is fascinating because Gen Z may be the most financially informed generation yet. They grew up with finance creators online. They understand investing young. They know about compound growth before they finish university. You'd think they'd avoid the trap completely. Not exactly. Their version is the most public one ever created because it happens online. For Gen Z, success often looks like presentation, the stylish room, the clean desk setup, the expensive headphones, the perfect outfits, the brands that quietly say, "I'm doing well." And here's the twist. Many are doing this while also investing. Mia contributes $60 each month into her portfolio. That's a great start. But she also spends $250 a month on purchases whose main purpose is looking good on camera. The trap here isn't ignorance, it's performance, knowing the language of wealth, but using it to display wealth more than build it, talking about financial freedom while habits quietly slow it down. Mia's not behind, she's actually ahead of where many older generations started. But the trap still exists, waiting patiently. Same trap, new lighting, better angles. So 4 people, 4 decades, one repeating pattern. How do people escape it? Because plenty do. And when you study those who avoided it, they usually did one thing differently. They separated the signal from the substance. They accepted looking less wealthy for a while so they could become wealthier for real later. They delayed the costume. They kept the older car, stayed in the smaller home, took fewer luxury trips, ignored unnecessary upgrades, and directed the difference into things that grow. Simple idea, hard in practice, because it fights human nature. We all want visible progress. We all want to feel like we've arrived. That's why even smart people fall for it. David's better path would have been owning the house while also investing heavily outside it, not relying on one asset alone. Lisa's better path, with every raise, upgrade part of life but save the rest, let income grow faster than lifestyle. Ethan's version, one major trip each year instead of several, automate the rest into investments monthly. Mia's version, and she has time on her side, is to grow the actual portfolio faster than the image of having one. If you want one rule, it's this: assets first, lifestyle second, every time. Not forever, just until your assets begin paying for the lifestyle instead of your paycheck doing all the work. That's the lesson every generation eventually learns.
David, Lisa, Ethan, and Mia are not foolish. They're not reckless. They simply believed what their era told them success should look like, and they prioritized looking successful over becoming secure. So here's the question I want to leave you with. Which version of the trap are you in right now? The home holding most of your wealth? The lifestyle that expanded with every raise? The experiences that replaced building? The image of wealth that grows faster than the real thing? Write it in the comments, not for judgment, genuinely, because the first step out of any trap is being honest enough to name it. And if this felt uncomfortably accurate, share it with someone who needs to hear it. They probably already know which version they're living.